हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नम ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण। Thank you very much, devotees, for being here for the reading of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Anti Lila. Today is an auspicious day. It is the day of Ekadashi, at least here. It is the day of Ekadashi, and it is also the appearance day of Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, who needs no introduction in our ISKCON movement, as he is called. He is Jaya Pataka. Jaya means victory, and Pataka means the flag. He is the big victory flag of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Sanskrit language, for a flag we have two terms that we use. One is called dhwaja, one is called pataka. Dhwaja means a small flag, and pataka means a big flag. So he is Shila Jaya Pataka. He's not a small flag. He's the big victory flag of Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan movement of Srila Prabhupada. Mhm. So we find so many of Prabhupada's disciples have taken their appearance in this world on auspicious days. Many of them, when they have appeared, it has been the day of Ekadashi or some festival. Srila Prabhupada appears after Janmashtami and it is the day of Nandotsav. And Prabhupada picks the day of Nandotsav uh, or the day after Krishna is advented and the day when Nanda Maharaj is giving all sweets and charity to everyone. Prabhupada picks that day to appear in this world. Similarly, we find Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj has appeared on the day of Ekadashi. From from my memory, Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, I think, has also appeared on the day of Ekadashi. And so many other Prabhupada disciples we find have appeared on auspicious days. We find Srila Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami Maharaj appeared on Odana Shashti, which is also very auspicious because it has a very strong connection to Prabhu Sri Jagannath. We find in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Odana Shashti has been glorified in connection to Jagannath and Swarup Damodar Goswami. So Sripad Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj appeared on Odana Shashti and so many other Prabhupada disciples. So we can see it both ways that when they have appeared, it is an auspicious day, like Ekadashi. And even otherwise, whenever they appear, that day becomes auspicious. So however you see it, either when they pick a day when the day is already auspicious, and then they appear and they make it more auspicious, or the other way, the day was not auspicious, but because they appeared, the day has now become auspicious. Hmm. So however we see it, it is the potency of a sadhu that makes the day auspicious, that makes any place auspicious, that makes any place holy. A place becomes holy. Tirti kurvanti tirthani swantastena katabrata. A place becomes holy. Why? Because sadhus go there or sadhus live there. Vrindavan becomes glorious because sadhus are there. So, in one purport, and a few days back, I was reading and Srila Prabhupada there, he says that when we go to Dham, we should take association of the sadhus there. Yes, we have to also see the temples, but we should not neglect the sadhus who are there because the sadhus who are there in Dham um, may not be available very easily in wherever we stay, right? Whichever location where we stay, उतने आसानी से शायद वो साधु प्राप्त नहीं होंगे जो शायद ब्रज और मायापुर और जगन्नाथपुरी में है। तो जब भी हमें मौका मिलता है धाम जाने का, हम अवश्य जो मंदिर है उनका तो दर्शन करें ही, लेकिन साथ ही साथ जो साधुगण है, हम उनके मुखारविंद से भी कथा श्रवण करें और उनका भी आशीर्वाद लें। The Dham Yatra becomes successful by the presence and the darshan of sadhu. Darshane pavitra karo ei tumhara gun. The person becomes pavitra by having the darshan of a sadhu. So, offering our obeisances to Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, who has appeared on this day. In Mayapur, it's a very big festival. It's as big a festival as Gaurav Purnima, if you see. I was seeing the celebration and it was amazing. The decoration and the way it was planned out. And it's not easy. Yesterday, a few devotees, when we met, we were discussing here that to practice the path of Krishna consciousness is rare. To practice the path and be inspired on that is even more rare. To practice the path, to be inspired, and then to inspire others is even more rare. And then with all this, to be a brahmachari is even more rare. And with all this, to be a brahmachari, to be inspired, to inspire others, and to do all this for about 50 years is very rare. You may not find a lot of personalities. And then to be a sannyasi for 50 years, traveling around the world and preaching the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and inspiring devotees and initiating disciples and having more than 50,000 disciples and still going strong in preaching Mahaprabhu's mission, you don't find a lot of people. So he is indeed the big victory flag of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's doing something that not many can do. Probably very, very few can do. Because Chit Yatati Siddhe. Only those empowered by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, empowered by Srila Prabhupada, um, can do what Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj has done. Mhm. I remember during the COVID days, there was a nice photo that came and it was very spiritually very interesting. Why? Because Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj had um, um, he had gone to Bangladesh. This is uh, this is COVID or just before COVID. I think COVID. So he had gone to Bangladesh, and during that time there were some initiations that were held in Bangladesh. Maybe the start of COVID. Let's keep it that way. Maybe the start of COVID. So there were some initiations that were planned out, and Srila Jayapataka Maharaj practically swept multiple villages of Bangladesh. And the interesting part I remember was there was a photo that became popular. Maybe we would have seen it. Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj is sitting, and normally for initiations, you see they have the beads, chanting beads that are stacked. They kind of hang it at one place, and multiple beads are stacked. So normally for initiation, you find maybe 50 beads, 100 beads, maybe 150 beads at the max. But I remember that photo was amazing because there were almost 3,000 beads that were hung one on top of the other. And when the numbers came out, Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj initiated about 4,000 people in couple of villages in a span of few days. 4,000 शिष्यों को दीक्षा दिए. And just the beads, when I saw that image, it made me think of the numbers. And just in a few days, then uh, one devotee reached out and they said, when we were talking, he said about 4,000 devotees Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj initiated. So even now we find in Bangladesh, there's so many who are disciples of Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. And it's fascinating because we find even as Indians, if we are asked to um, give a class in Bengali, it is not very easy. It's very difficult. Let me put it that way. It's very difficult. uh, Even those who are Bangla, for them to give a class in Bengali is not very easy because the language that is used in Katha and the language that is used in colloquial speaking are very different. Like, for example, we take Hindi. The Hindi that we speak normally and the Hindi that's used for class are very different. Similarly, for Bengali, the Bengali that may be used for normal speaking and the Bengali that's used for Katha is very different. And the thing that's fascinating is Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, who by birth comes from America, speaks fluent Bengali. He gives a class in Mayapur in front of Bengalis who were born and brought up in that language. If you see the old classes of Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, he speaks fluent Bengalis in front of those who were Bengalis by birth. It's amazing. It's amazing to learn any language and then to give a class in that is phenomenal. And Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj has done it. And we find a similar trend in his disciple, Her Grace Nitai Sevani Mataji. She's also Gujarati by birth, and she speaks fluent Telugu. I was amazed when I heard it. She speaks fluent Telugu. So, like guru, like disciple, if the guru is doing that, the disciple is also doing it. So, it shows, um, it really shows us that if someone wants to preach the message of Lord Chaitanya, language is also not a barrier. We have had personalities and so many personalities actually in our movement. We find even Srila Bhakti Vikas Swami Maharaj. He's from UK but speaks fluent Hindi. He gives classes in Hindi. Hmm. Sripad Mukunda Datta Prabhu from Vrindavan, the head pujari of Krishna Balaram Mandir. He's Swiss. He's from Switzerland. He speaks fluent Hindi. He reads Hindi. He reads Bengali. He was telling us one time when he was there at our place, he was telling us that he has read the Chaitanya Charitamrita in English. He has read it in Hindi. He has also read it in Bengali. And he gave a number. I don't remember the number, so I don't want to speculate. But he gave a number as to how many times he has read Chaitanya Charitamrita end to end in different languages. For us to read in one language itself is a lifetime's effort. Sripad Mukundatta Prabhu has done that in English, in Hindi, in Bengali also. Even when he comes to our house in Mumbai, I've seen him one time he was reading a book called Radha Rasa Sudhanidhi by Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati. And I was amazed because that book was not in English, not in Hindi. He was reading a Bengali book. तो बंगाली पढ़ते भी है, थोड़ा बोल भी सकते हैं, हिंदी तो फ्लुएंटली बोलते हैं, हिंदी पढ़ भी लेते हैं और अंग्रेजी तो बोलते ही है. So we find so many of these disciples, even when they are by birth not from India, they have shown that to preach Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, language is not a barrier. If we want, we can do it. So let us offer our heartfelt obeisances a million times at the lotus feet of Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, who has come all the way from Milwaukee to Mayapur. There's a nice book called as Milwaukee to Mayapur. So Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj appeared in Milwaukee, in America, in a place called as Wisconsin. There's a place called Milwaukee. Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj appeared there. And from there has come all the way to Mayapur and has recreated Mayapur. Srila Prabhupada gave the guidelines, and it was Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj who practically uh, put it into perspective and has been the pioneer in Mayapur for so many years. Like, if we have to think of these holy dhams, we always connect that to the devotees associated. Like, for example, when we say Vrindavan, we say Aindra Prabhu immediately. When we say Vrindavan, we say Sripad Mukundatta Prabhu, the head pujari. we say Shila Shripa Dinabandhu Prabhu, right? Mhm. Similarly, when we think of Mayapur, we think of Srila Jananivas and Pankajankari Prabhu, the transcendental twins of ISKCON. And we naturally also think about Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj because he is the pioneer in getting so many souls to Mayapur. Mhm. And so many such names. So when we think of Dham, we connect them to sadhus. And naturally, when we think of sadhus, we connect them to Dham. So Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj from Milwaukee has made Mayapur his base, and he has made Mayapur the base for so many of his disciples also around the world. I have seen, at least in North America, I have seen, and even in the Middle East, in Dubai, almost 99.9% are disciples of Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, Muscat, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, that full Middle East belt is all majority disciples of Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. And he has renamed all the places also. So Sharjah is called as Shamdesh. Mathura is called, Muscat is called Mathura Desh. Bahrain is called Balram Desh. Dubai is called Damodar Desh. Abu Dhabi is called Avatari Desh. Saudi Arabia is called Sanatan Desh. And all this credit goes to Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, who has renamed the whole Middle East. All this while he has given initiation to human personalities, but now he has gone one step ahead. He has given names, spiritual names, even to locations like places in the Middle East. So sadhu can go to any extreme. Uddhar karne ke liye, sadhu can go to any extreme. When Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj was there, I'm just inspired to speak about Maharaj because today is his appearance day. So we will speak little about him and then let's see how the time is there and then we can come back to Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj was there in the hospital in Chennai, that's another feature of him. He's gone through so many transplants. I can't even think of how many transplants he has gone through, and still he's so strong in his Krishna consciousness. So when he was there in Chennai for one of his transplant, I think a liver transplant or something of those lines. So after he recovered and came back to consciousness, his servant Mahavaraha Prabhu, he was saying that Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, on all the days that he missed this chanting, the minimum chanting of 16 rounds that we have, on all the days that Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj missed, when he came back to consciousness, he chanted all those rounds. How many days he missed? He chanted all those rounds and made up for whatever he missed and chanted extra 500 rounds for what he had missed. तो जितना करना था उतना तो कर ही लिए उसके साथ साथ he chanted extra 500 rounds when he came back to consciousness, and all this in the hospital bed at a stage when people can't even resonate who they are after a transplant. Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj chants all his rounds and chants extra 500 also. Hmm. All glories, all glories. Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. So when he was there in the Chennai hospital, the nurse, when one day when the nurse came, so Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj would be given like a board. So he would write on that when he has to convey something because he was not in a state where he could speak clearly. So they had given like a board in which he could write and the disciples could understand what he is requesting. So when this nurse came, Srila Jayapataka Maharaj in that he wrote that why is she not having Kantimala? So the servant Mahavara Prabhu said, Maharaj, because she's not a devotee. It's a normal hospital in Chennai. He said, Maharaj, she's not a devotee. So Jayapataka Swami Maharaj wrote, why she is not a devotee? I will make her a devotee right now. Devotees are thinking, Maharaj, you can recover and then we will get to this. Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj wrote, go and get Kantimala and put Kantimala on her. I will initiate her right away. I will make her my disciple right away. And that lady who was, she has no idea what a disciple even means, what the ISKCON movement is, what Krishna consciousness is. But Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj was ready to go to that extreme to rescue someone, that even someone whom he didn't know, he was ready to offer her Kantimala and connect her to the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. What to speak of this compassion? That is why we find in his pranam mantra also. I don't know the whole pranam mantra, but I've heard there's a term that comes Nitai Kripa Pradayine. Hmm? He is the bestower of Nitai Kripa. Uh, and we have seen practically that how merciful Shri Nityananda Prabhu is. Ghare ghare phule prem ami araban. Nityananda Prabhu would go from home to home and beg everyone, beseech everyone to chant. Even if they pelted stones, Nityananda Prabhu would still make them chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And Jagai Madai were best examples. They threw the pot at Nityananda Prabhu. Nitai still pleaded and made them into devotees. So Srila Jayapataka Maharaj is practically Nitai Kripa Pradayine because he's in that mood of Nityananda Prabhu who sees everyone equally, living beings, non-living beings, even locations, and he's going everywhere and giving spiritual names to everyone and rescuing them on this path of, or connecting them to this path of Krishna consciousness and rescuing them from the cycle of repeated birth, death, old age, and disease. When Srila Jayapataka Maharaj got the stroke in about 2008, 2009, so at that time, this was the first stroke. So at that time in Vrindavan Krishna Balram Mandir, Sripad Aindra Prabhu would do night kirtans for the recovery of Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. And they were termed as JPS recovery kirtans. So Sripad Aindra Prabhu would keep a photo of Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj and Aindra Prabhu would lead kirtans every day night 10 to 12. And so many devotees would come. So many devotees would come. So eventually, when Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj recovered, when his health got a little better, they told Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj that Maharaj, in Vrindavan, Aindra Prabhu was doing kirtans for your recovery. And Srila Jayapataka Maharaj to that responded, I know. Srila Jayapataka Maharaj had just come back to consciousness. He was in some hospital which is not even Vrindavan. Aindra Prabhu was in Vrindavan. Geographically, both of them were away from each other. They didn't have phones to call each other, no email, nothing. When Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj heard this, immediately his first response was, I know. So it's fascinating that sometimes we go to our Gurudev and try to explain, Gurudev, I did this, I did that, this, that, etc. But sadhus are such that Krishna in their heart inspires them, and there are things that if Krishna wants them to know, they already know. And this was a classic example of how Aindrabhu was doing kirtans for the recovery, and Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj said, I know. So he is indeed the big victory flag of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and he is indeed Nitai Kripa Pradayine, bestower of the mercy of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. And that's what we have been discussing in our Chaitanya Charitamrita also. Yesterday also we discussed how Nityananda Prabhu goes to Ramchandra Khan, and the whole episode that unfolds there in his Ramchandra Khan's offense to Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and how Ramchandra Khan ends up becoming a thief because he didn't offer proper respect to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. So, before we move on to our Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, let's offer our head, our mind, our heart, our body, our everything at the lotus feet of Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj on his appearance day today. And may we seek his blessings, his mercy, so that we can also be steadfast on this path of Krishna consciousness, like the way he has been for the last 50 years as a Tridandi sannyasi traveling around the world and preaching Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So it's not the end. Now we will continue to Chaitanya Charitamrita. I know it's nearing 9 o'clock here Pacific, but um, we will try to discuss something. Haridas Thakur came to Chandpur and stayed at the house of Balaram Acharya. Balram Acharya was the priest of Hiranya and Govardhan Majumdar, the two government treasurers in that area. Srila Raghunath Das, the son of Govardhan Majumdar. So Raghunath Das here is Raghunath Das Goswami. This is this pastime is when Raghunath Das was very small. So that's why he's not addressed as Goswami, he's addressed as Raghunath Das. Raghunath Das, the son of Govardhan Majumdar, was at that time a boy. He daily came to see the merciful Haridas, and thus he later attained the shelter of Lord Chaitanya's feet. Hiranya and Govardhan Majumdar used to arrange spiritual discourses at their residence with many scholars and brahmanas. One day, Balaram Acharya humbly requested Haridas to come there. He was received well by the two Majumdar brothers, who were very learned. In that assembly, everyone glorified Haridas Thakur's great qualities as if they had five mouths. The scholars began to discuss about the glories of the holy name. Now, this is feast for the ears for Haridas Thakur. When devotees are discussing glories of holy name, for Haridas Thakur, this is like Chappan Bhog. He will wish he has millions of ears to keep hearing it again and again. Some said, by chanting, one is freed from all sinful reactions. Others said, by chanting, one is liberated, that is mukti, from material bondage. But Haridas Thakur described the true glories of the holy name. That is, one awakens ecstatic love for Krishna's lotus feet by offenseless chanting. Liberation and extinction of sinful reactions are two concomitant byproducts of chanting. As the sun dissipates all darkness, so offenseless chanting dissipates all sinful reactions. Liberation is its insignificant result. This explanation angered Gopal Chakravarti, a tax collector who was handsome, learned, and youthful. So, what's the discussion? Haridas Thakur is glorifying Sri Harinam and is saying that all this mukti, etc., is byproduct. The real treasure of holy name, the real value is you get Krishna Prema, love unto Krishna. So Gopal Chakravarti, who's a tax collector, he gets angry and he refutes this argument. He criticized Haridas Thakur. Oh scholars, just hear the conclusion of this emotional devotee. After millions of births, when one is complete in spiritual knowledge, one still may not attain liberation. Yet this man says that one can simply attain it by Namabhas. So Haridas Thakur said, just by Namabhas you will get liberation. But with Shuddha Nam, you will get Prema Bhakti. Haridas Thakur said, why are you so doubtful? The scriptures say so. For a devotee who enjoys the bliss of bhakti, liberation is insignificant. Gopal Chakravarti challenged Haridas Thakur. If one is not liberated by Namabhas, then I shall cut off your nose. Haridas accepted the challenge. The assembly members were greatly agitated. Hiranya and Govardhan Majumdar chastised Gopal Chakravarti and dismissed him from their service. With all the assembly members, they fell at the lotus feet of Haridas Thakur. Haridas smiled and spoke in a sweet voice. None of you are at fault. Indeed, even this ignorant Brahmana is not at fault, for he is accustomed to dry speculation and logic. One cannot understand the glories of the holy name simply by logic and argument. May Krishna bless you all. Do not be sorry because of my being insulted. So basically, Nam Mahima is going on here, and Gopal Chakravarti refuted to the proposition that Haridas Thakur presented that just by Namabhas one will get Mukti, and by Shuddha Nam one will get Prema Bhakti. Gopal Chakravarti felt that कई जन्मों के बाद मुक्ति प्राप्त होती है और यहाँ हरिदास ठाकुर इतने कैजुअली बोलते हैं कि अरे मुक्ति तो बाय प्रोडक्ट है. फॉर गोपाल चक्रवर्ती इट रियली रफल्ड हिज feathers. And then they pledged against each other that if what you're saying is true, may my nose be cut off. And Haridas Thakur also said, yes, if what you're saying is true, may my nose also be cut off. So in the olden days, they had this uh, way of challenging each other. But actually, what Haridas Thakur is saying is not just being sentimental, it's not being an emotional devotee as Gopal Chakravarti is accusing him. What Haridas Thakur is saying is actually Shastric. कोकोटिदानं ग्रहणे खगस्य प्रयाग गङ्गोतककल्पवासं यज्ञायुतं मेरुसुवर्णदानं गोविन्दकीर्तेर्न समं शतं शैर्. The Upanishads explain, the Puranas explain, Gokotidanam grahane khagasya, that if there is a grahan, which means eclipse, if there's an eclipse and you do what? Gokotidanam. If you distribute or donate crores of cows, go means cows, koti means crores, and danam means dan karna, to distribute or charity. If you give in charity 1 crore cows during eclipse, what benefit you will get? Immense benefit. बहुत लाभ होगा. Because charity of cows is very auspicious. Go seva, taking care of the cows, giving charity, giving cows in charity, giving Lakshmi in charity for the cows, all of this is very auspicious. In the olden times also we find the Brahmanas would give cows in charity, the kings would give cows in charity. Why? Because in the olden times there was no slaughter of cows. In the present day, it's very risky because people may take money from us in the form of cow charity and they will end up even slaughtering the cow. But whatever benefit you get genuinely by giving cows in charity during an eclipse, X amount of benefit. Gokoti danam grahane khagasya prayag gangotak kalpavasam. And whatever benefit you will get by staying for 1 kalpa, not 1 year, 1 kalpa, many amount of years. We can do the research Srimad Bhagavatam or Google, etc., as to how many years is 1 kalpa. If for 1 kalpa we live on the banks of Mother Ganga and do bhajan, how much benefit we will get? Immense benefit. Third line. Yagyayutam meru suvarna danam. And if someone does meru suvarna danam, if someone gives gold in charity, how much gold? As humongous as Mount Meru. पर्वत के समान यदि कोई सोना दान करे. Now, first thing, we don't have that much gold. If we had that much gold, we would have been some millionaire, billionaire. But imagining we have that much gold, imagining we have that much gold in the size of Mount Meru, how much benefit we'll get? Immense benefit. But Shastra explains, if you add all these three together, what three? Gokoti Danam, which means giving charity of cows during an eclipse, or second, living for 1 kalpa near the banks of Ganges, or third, giving gold in charity as much as Mount Meru. By doing all these three things, how much benefit you will get? Lot of benefit. But still, the last line says, Govinda Kirtair na samam shata amshair. Still, that person will not even get 1/100th of the benefit of what that person will derive by just chanting the name of Govinda once. Which means if someone chants the name of Govinda once, he will get 100 times more benefit than that person who has done all three cumulatively or even separately. एक बार बस गोविंद बोलने से गोविंदा 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 गोविंदा. That's why in South we say they say Govinda Govinda. One time by saying Govinda, Shastra explains Govinda Kirtair na samam. It is not even equal. Na shata amshair. Shata means 100. Amsha means portions of that. That person will not even get 1/100th of the benefit, even if he has done all that, in comparison to another person who has just chanted the name of Govinda once. So, what is the purport? The basic purport is to chant. भगवान का नाम कलयुग में सब कुछ है. हमारे पास इतना सोना नहीं होगा, हमारे पास इतने गैया नहीं है दान करने के लिए, हम शायद गंगा के तट पर एक कल्प भी नहीं रह सकते, क्योंकि जीवन जीवन की आयु ही इतनी ही है. We stay for what, 50, 60, 70, 80 years? So how can we do the first three things? But in Kali Yuga, just by chanting the name of Govinda once, one can get much more the benefit. So again, it's a good verse memorization. If you like to memorize verses, this is a good verse memorization. Hmm. गोकोटिदानं ग्रहणे खगस्य प्रयाक गंगोतक कल्पवासम यज्ञायुतम मेरु सुवर्णदानं गोविंद कीर्तैर न शमम शतम शय. So Haridas Thakur is actually speaking Shastra. A Vaishnava never takes anyone's insults seriously. He is tolerant like a tree. He is simply interested in chanting without disturbance. After 3 days, Gopal Chakravarti was attacked by leprosy, and his raised nose melted away and fell off. His beautiful toes and fingers withered and melted away. Seeing his condition, everyone was astonished and praised Haridas Thakur. But Haridas was not happy. Though Haridas did not take the offense seriously, Krishna could not tolerate it, and thus he made the Brahmana suffer. A characteristic of a pure devotee is that he excuses any offense by an ignorant person. A characteristic of Krishna, however, is that he cannot, cannot tolerate blasphemy of his devotees. So the characteristic of a devotee is such that the devotee can excuse any offense. But the characteristic of Krishna is that he cannot tolerate the blasphemy of his devotees. So Gopal Chakrabarti, we find his nose completely melted and he had leprosy. Why? Because he argued and debated with Haridas Thakur and tried to challenge Haridas Thakur, and not just debate, the language that he used was not proper. We find the same name of Gopal has come in the pastime of Srivas also. There it's Gopal Chapel. Gopal Chapel is another personality whom we find comes um, in Adi Lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, who tried to cause harm uh, to Srivas by keeping some liquor bottles outside and some um, paraphernalia for Durga worship. And eventually, we find Gopal Chapel also was inflicted with leprosy. And here also we find Gopal Chakravarti, who tried to speak something offensive to Haridas Thakur, was inflicted with leprosy. So during those days, we find leprosy was very common. And in the present day, we find leprosy is not common, cancer is very common, right? Literally nowadays, we find every second or third person we hear of is having cancer. This type of cancer, that type of cancer. So, Vyadhi, disease is such, how much ever medical science improves, there is some new disease that keeps coming. How much ever doctors become proficient, um, we find newer and newer things keep coming. 500 years back, it was leprosy. Now there is cancer, and then there is COVID, and then there's swine flu, and there is so many newer and newer and newer things that just keeps coming. So, as Krishna has designed it, this world is Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. These things will always be there. There'll always be birth, there'll always be disease, there will be death, and there will be old age. Mhm. So, in this way, we find the glories of Thakur Mahashai and the glories of Harinam has been described here. Having said this, we stop here with our primary discussion as Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj and Haridas Thakur and Sri Nam. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.